Vamos falar de blues.
Olá, eu sou o Buda e vamos falar de blues. Estou aqui com Doug Macleod. Hi, Doug.
How you doing, bro?
How are you?
Good, good.
Please let us know who is Doug Macleod.
The guy talking to you right now.
Oh, thanks. I was confused. But how do you consider? How do you introduce yourself? How do you think about you?
Oh, I'm a singer-songwriter, and I like to think that, like in the same tradition as the guys that began this music, you know, guys like Son House, Robert Johnson, Lightning Hopkins, Blind Boy Fuller, Blind Blake, all those guys were singer-songwriters. I am too. So everything I'll do tonight will be original. You know?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great news. And what's your top 5 blues
Songs?
Woo! No one knows how to answer this question.
Oh, man. You know, trying to pick 5.
It can be your top 5 from today, not necessarily for your life.
Oh, man, my top 5 blues songs. Well, I got to go with Albert King, Crosscut Saw. I would have to go Jimmy Reed, Honest I Do. Let me think now. Howlin' Wolf, I'm built for comfort, I ain't built for speed. I got 2 more to go, right?
Yeah.
Let me think now. I don't want to make. Oh, Tampa Red. Things About Coming My Way. And let me go a little bit another way. Let me think now. You can tell I'm thinking.
We got time.
I'm glad we got time.
I was built for comfort, not for speed.
The last one, I think I would have to go with Big Bill Broonzy, Long Tall Mama.
Great.
That'd be my 5.
And what does the blues means to you?
Well, this is what I think it means. There was a time I was playing, backing up George Harmonica Smith somewhere, and the place we were playing was a bucket of blood. It was a rough joint, and I was backing him up, and I felt tingles come up my arm. And I realized that night, there's more to this music than just 3 chords. But I didn't realize what it was. About a couple of years ago, I was touring over in Belgium or Holland, one of those. And after the gig, I got done, I went back to the hotel, and I was enjoying a beer before I went to sleep. And it dawned on me, this music, blues, to me, this is a music of overcoming adversity, not subjecting to it. You think about who wrote this music and who created this music. You know, slaves. So this is about overcoming adversity. And to me, when you think about blues, everybody, I don't care what color you are, what nationality you are, every one of us got to face adversity. And it's how you handle that adversity, how you come out of that adversity, which is the important thing. I think that's the most important thing about blues music.
Great. Do you remember your the first time you got in touch with the blues?
Well, I remember, it was a funny thing. The very first time I heard it, we were living in New York. I was like 13 years old, maybe. And there was a big rhythm and blues review. That's what it was called back in those days, right? R&B review. And Big Joe Turner was on that review. And here I am, 13 years old, looking at him do his thing, you know. And then, 30 years later, I'm backing him up. So that was quite a I'm playing guitar behind him, you know. I'm working for him, you know.
Amazing story. And who's your favorite blues man?
Wow, there's a lot of them. I think of my mentors, I think George Harmonica Smith maybe would have to be one of them for what I learned from him, you know. I would have to say Tampa Red as a slide guitar player, Big Bill Brunsey as a finger-picking guitar player and thumb, you know, a magic thumb guy, Albert King, B.B. King, guys that didn't need a lot of notes to say a lot, guys that played from their heart and their feeling and sang that way, you know. A lot of guys can play, but I like the guys that can play and sing, because you got to come from there, you know, because your first instrument that God give you is your voice, right?
Of course.
So you're thinking about it. If you play an instrument that don't need to breathe like a guitar, you can play, but you're not breathing. But you play a saxophone or you sing, you got to breathe, don't you? So that's why I like the blues guys that breathe when they played.
Great advice. And from the living bluesmen, who's the one that still struggles, still touched you the most?
From the guys that are alive, well, a lot of them. I'm at the age now where you ask somebody, they might mention me. You know?
I'm sure they will. You can mention yourself, because I know you have a lot of influence in yourself.
The guys that are alive. I'm trying to think of a guy that's older than me. You know.
No, it doesn't need to be older guys. It can be young cats.
There's a young guy. Oh, there's a few young guys. There's a young guy that's working with James Harmon. His name is Nathan James. I like what he's doing. And I saw some guys that Ben and Joe, I think, from the Pacific Northwest. I like what they're doing. Young guys that are really got a hold of the tradition of this music that are doing it authentically.
And in your opinion, how did blues influence all the other genres, all the other musical genres besides the blues itself?
I think you can hear blues in just about anything in America. To go back to George Harmonica Smith, he and I were talking one day, and he explained to me his grandfather or his great-grandfather, probably great-grandfather, was a slave. And he told him the stories of when the white musicians from the plantation house would go down to the slave quarters and hear the slave music, the African influence. So they'd hear this note. Right?
Yeah.
Right, using that note. And they'd take that and they would bring that up. And then the black musicians, the slave musicians, would go up and hear those little riffs that were going like. The sweeter sound, right?
Yeah.
So what happened was the two musics came together, so you could think of them as like snakes. When snakes mate, they coil like this. And then blues went out this way, and I think the rest, like country music, the old-time country music, went out there, and then they influenced the rest of American music. You can hear it, I think, in all kinds of American music.
And probably in all pop music in the world. Because
you got to have it, because I mean, you got these. like I say this when I do a workshop. For instance, these notes, just those notes, you can get. Or you get. Eleanor Rigby, or you can get. They're all there, man. They're all there. See?
It's only those few notes.
Those few notes. So you're basing it on those notes, and you that's why the music grows from there, I think.
And how are you? What's your thoughts about how blues is in this 21st century? So, how's the health of the blues?
I'm not so sure. I hope that we don't ever lose the history of it. That people will search back. The young musicians will search back and find out the guys that preceded the guys. Like you would listen to someone and say, "Oh, I like what he's doing." Who did he listen to, right? And then who did they listen to, and who did they listen to? So you preserve the history, the lineage of this music. And the other thing I hope that we don't ever lose out of this music is the humor. Because blues, the old blues guys that I work with, they love to laugh, man. They love laughing. And I don't see a lot of laughter too much anymore. I think we need more of it, the worldwide,
I laugh a lot.
Good, me too. That's why you look so good.
Sometimes I laugh too much, but that's another question. This is a double question for someone wanting to start in the blues world as a listener.
Yeah.
What's your advice? So if someone comes to your show and has never listened to the blues and likes the show and says, "Oh, I really love this music. How can I know more about it?" What can someone do?
Well, I would tell them a couple of people. Of course, B.B. King, early B.B. King. When you hear, the great style that he had, I would tell them Albert King.
Can you give us a name, an album from the early B.B. King?
Oh, Live at the Regal, or Blues is King. Either one of those two records. And Albert King, I'd say the one that Born Under a Bad Sign. Good record. Jimmy Reed, the best of Jimmy Reed. I would tell them to listen to Howlin' Wolf, the Rockin' Chair album, which you got down there in the library.
And Born on a Bad Sign is also there.
Yeah.
And Live at the Regal is also there.
Really?
Yeah.
So you don't have to ask me those questions.
I just want to know your opinion.
Yeah, those are great records.
Great. And for a guy, because some of our audience are listeners, but some of our audience are musicians that are wanting to enter the blues world as a musician, not only as a listener. What's your advice for a guy that already knows how to play some licks and some stuff, but doesn't know how to play the blues? What should he do to develop his style and to enter the blues, even professionally, not just as a musician, even how to show up and how to manage to have gigs?
Well, I think as a musician, I think the best advice I ever got when I was 19 years old was an old one-eyed country blues singer out of Tawana, Virginia. His name was Ernest Banks. And he told me, he said, "You want to be a blues man? Never play a note you don't believe, and never write or sing about where you don't know about." So what he's talking there is honesty, isn't he? He's talking about the blues is honest. It's whatever you feel. It's a feeling. I would say that to the musicians. Have the courage to play what you feel. When you think everybody want to hear a lot of notes and all you feel is two notes, play those two notes. When you think everybody want to hear just two notes and you feel a lot of notes, play a lot of notes. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. Great advice. I will start doing it. And what's the technique you use on guitar? Do you use alternative tunings, regular tunings?
All of it. I got all kinds of tunings. I got the standard tuning. And tonight at the, who knows? I never plan a set, but it's for sure standard tuning. And then I'll probably be in open D, too many Ds, a tuning I call too many Ds. Bastard G.
you call the tuning too many Ds.
I call it
how
too
many
many.
How many do you have?
A lot of them. Maybe too many of them. Too many Ds, too many Gs. Bastard G, drop D. I got a bunch of tunings. Because you have to, like you're acoustic guy, right? You're solo. So you got to have the bass going on. So you got to have the bass. So when I learned from old man Ernest Banks, he used to tune. He tuned things. I remember one time I was with him after he liked me. At first he didn't like me because I was the wrong color, you know.
Yeah.
But
we have it a lot too, right? Not just the black people have the racism.
No,
we also have it being white.
And he didn't. He wanted to make sure I would belong with him. So after we got to know each other, and he liked me, I said to him, he was in a tuning, and I said, how did you get to that tuning? He go, just go down, that the same, that the same, just go down, you there. So what he was thinking was, if I got it, I was supposed to. If I didn't get it, the hell with me. That's how he felt about it, you know. You there.
You there. And do you tune between songs?
Yeah.
For sure. You're only using one guitar, not bringing.
Honey Boy Edwards and I were talking about that. He and I became friends, and I said to him, I said, I'm a throwback, kind of like you were. You guys, when those guys traveled, the old guys traveled, they didn't have 2 or 3 guitars or 4. They just had one, and they had one guitar to do everything. And this National does everything. So, and carrying 4 or 5 guitars, that's a lot of money on an airplane, man. I ain't gonna spend that money. I ain't gonna spend that money.
But is it easy to manage all the tunings? Does it stay in tune easily?
Some nights it doesn't.
Who cares?
I do. But sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you. That's how it works.
You have to work it out.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be in tune.
You were talking about the bass. Can you give us an example of what that bass going on?
The thump, you mean?
Yeah. Do you do the bass line with
oh, sure.
And the melody?
Yeah, for instance, let's say if I'm doing like a fast 2-beat, I might go like. There's the bass. The slap is like the drum. Then I put the lead on it. That alternating there. A little dynamic, loud, it's soft. Hit this.
You are the whole band.
Trying to be.
Yeah, great, amazing stuff. And do you have what's your advice? Because I've tried it a lot to play separately with my thumb and play the melody, but my brain doesn't want to do that. So what's your advice for a guy trying to play separately bass lines and like Tommy Emmanuel is one of the guys that does it, but Chad Atkins did it way back.
Well, it all depends.
Yourself, of course.
Alternating bass, right? Those guys play a lot of that.
And separate instruments.
Doc Watson, right? Right? That's that sound. That's that sound. But in blues, they would get that groove going. And the secret is, once you establish it, that's established. You already got that. And the folks out there listening, they already got it, right? So I don't have to play that again. Watch. I'm setting this up, and I'm looking out there, and people are nodding their heads, so I know they got it. And this is what the old blues guys used to do. Now, I'm going to go over here, setting this up. Now I'm going to take a lead, but I'm not going to be playing bass. Now listen. When I'm playing the lead, I'm just going this. Right?
Filling the space.
I'm just doing that. Brunsy used to do that. He'd go like, remember that? He'd go. Sound like bass. There's the bass. But I'm gonna hide the bass.
Okay, great. Seems easy, but it's not. Well, probably more 30 or 40 years, I'll get it. How long have you been playing?
I guess I started when I was 15 for money. I started off as a bass player. So I guess that's 55 years I've been playing.
55?
Yeah, I'm 70 years old.
Yeah, so you're looking good now, not me.
But I feel good, I don't feel 70.
No, you don't look 70.
And I don't act 70 either.
Yeah, of course. So, thanks a lot for your time.
My pleasure.
For your great advices. I hope all the people watching can learn it from what you've told. There's some really good advice. I learned a lot, and thanks a lot for being here.
My pleasure, man.
I'm looking forward to see you perform tonight.
I look forward to it too.
So
Thank
see
you.
you. Thank you.
All right.
Vamos falar de blues.